going on, DJ Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast. This week for the Houston Open, which is sponsored by some bank I've never heard of in my life. As usual, I am here with my boy Tyler Tamboline. So many Taylors this week. Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, what is up, my friend?
Okay, Tyler Montgomery, Taylor's brother. We're going to talk about him. We'll get to it. Yeah. Before we get into it, I want to remind everyone very quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by Prize Picks. Head on over to prizepicks.com. If you haven't yet, use promo code MMN. Get yourself a 100% deposit bonus up to your first $100. Check that site out. When the new season kicks off, we will be doing, like I said, a full segment on it, 4 or 5 minutes, just going over our top picks for the week. They're going to have set lines that are up in advance so that we can get after them, get them out to you guys and pick some winners. But Kenny, another crazy week, man. It was a close call. I actually had a really good week. I got fourth in the main $20 tournament. I hit the Henley outright, which everybody else did too, but 50-1, that was nice. So yeah, it was a solid week. Good for Henley. I thought it was pretty incredible. The afterthought, everyone was tweeting about it last night, but the guy, admitted it. Not too many people do that. They all say it's tough out here and they tell you the truth, but for him to come out and say of himself, like, I literally choked those events away. So this felt so good to just sort of break through again and get another W, was incredible. And he did just that, man. He came through in the clutch. Little rocky on Sunday, but he built that buffer in there compared to the rest of the guys they're chasing. So it doesn't faze me too much to see Damon and Power and those guys go off and him stay put. He just fairways and greens, get the job done. And that's what he did. 1 by 4 strokes. What do you think of the event?
Yeah, I mean, it was on the BTV, TV2 all week again. I mean, man, these fields just aren't that great. And especially when he took that lead going into Sunday, it was basically over. I actually had it on the laptop because I had to research all the games and shit for yesterday when I was on Pat's show for the Sunday Night Live show. So I didn't actually get to catch a lot of it. I mean, enough to know what was going on. I mean, he just whooped that ass. I mean, shit, I don't know what else to say. I mean, the shitty thing about it is last week when Seamus Power won, I talked about how I wanted to play Power, and he was the last person that I marked off the list and did not play. Very rare. I'd say about 1, maybe 2 golfers a week that I say on this podcast where I don't actually play. Just because of either, the lineups don't work or I do a little bit more research or something like that. And so that was Power last week. He was my last one out. 2 weeks ago. This past week, I talked up Henley. I said I liked him, blah, blah, blah on the podcast. He was my last one out again in DFS. And of course he won again. So maybe I should put that out when I make my lineups every Wednesday night, just to go out and just be like, oh, last one out, this guy, bet him now. Maybe
you're hanging around with Tim. You're hanging around with Tim. You were on the show last night with Tim Mayo doing that one on Sunday Night Football. But I thought you did tweet it out. I remember you tweeting this out. You said, by the way, last time it was this time it's this. So he'll go on to win. And then you quote tweeted it and said, yep, or whatever it was. Like, there it is. So you at least are honest about what you're saying and doing. You did it. You said it. You let it happen again. And sure enough, Henley goes on to win. So that's back to back for you. It's almost like I said, the Korean cust.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of that, just to let you know right quick, you just admitted that you were looking up and researching before you went on the show last night when you guys did pick the lines and set the.
I didn't research that. The only one I looked for pick the lines was my team, the Commanders, and of course Paul called me out on that because it's the truth. If I looked at it, I would have won. I think
that was my take. Right. How'd you not do better?
I got like 1 right.
I thought maybe the edibles kicked in and maybe that was the holdup.
No, actually, I got something new now. Now it's like droplets of like pure THC.
Yeah,
that's what I got now. I moved on from the edibles, moved on from the syrup. Now it's literally like a little vial like this with a little squeeze thing, and you just like drop like THC drops into your mouth.
Do you go into the dispensary to buy this stuff?
No, I got a buddy of mine whose brother owns a dispensary in DC.
Okay.
Recreational in Maryland, in Virginia is legal, but it's not commercial yet. It'll start being commercial in 2024.
I could just see you like the dream customer for them. You walk in, come over here, Mr. Kim. Come on, check this out. We got a new thing here. Well, I was on the syrup, but now
they're already building huge dispensaries in our area. Yeah. There's one on this major thoroughfare. If you guys live in Northern Virginia, you guys on the corner of 29 and 50 in Fairfax, which is one of like the most trafficked corners like in our area in Northern Virginia, there is a 3-story cannabis shop that just opened there. It's humongous. It's all medicinal right now because you can't purchase recreational weed. But in 2 years, I mean, it's about 10 minutes from my house. So I will be frequenting that place. Well, it just depends. If my guy's cheaper, I'll go with him anyway. So whatever.
By the time we get to this place opening, Kenny will be up to the 3rd floor via the elevator, and he'll be telling us how he's injecting it now by needle into his arm. He's got the new
no needles,
latest and greatest option.
No needles.
Okay.
I've done plenty of illicit, substances in my life, but I'll stay away from the needles. But anyways, we'll talk about Henley and the tournament itself. I mean, a couple of guys out there. Will Gordon, another guy that we talked about with a strong finish. Joel Damon, another strong finish for him. He's been playing really, really good golf. I mean, I think 3 or 4 top 15s, top 25s in a row. The price tag at $9,000 this week seemed a little high, but I was looking at it, probably warranted in this field. And he's looking good. For me personally, of course, I talked up my cash gains last week, how good I was doing. Obviously it was going to crash. I mean, you had to have known that. I did go 3 or 4 in my cash game cornerstones. Lashley, my punt play, did miss the cut. I went 5 of 6 in cash. Rare now to go 5 of 6 in cash and lose. I was about 8 to 12 points away from cashing. So it hurt a little bit. Horschel really killed me. He just did not play as well as I thought, but I'm not going to change the way my approach, because I think the approach was still correct. I just picked the wrong people up top. Probably should have went Scheffler and Hovland or something like that. Or, I did have the Finau fade, which was nice with him missing the cut, though I love him this week. And then, so not the best week, 5-2 now for the swing season. You know what? And then some big news also. It seems like Live Golf is getting some more people from what I'm hearing. Not Hovland. Hatton is rumored. Xander, Cantlay rumored. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we won't have to worry about it next year. But what's happening is these fields in the fall have really, really felt the Live guys' losses. If you look at this field right now, top heavy. You got Schefter, the big boys are Scheffler, Burns, Decky, Finau, right? Well, in the last 2 years, this tournament, the Houston Open has been played. DJ has played, Koepka has played, Cam Smith has played, Leishman has played, Neiman has played. So what it's doing is it's making these tournaments really, really, you're not getting the amount of good elite golfers in these certain types of fields. Now, when it gets to the regular season and you have those crazy elite events, it should be fine. But what Live is going to hurt the PGA Tour is these type of events. The non-elite type events are going to suffer until something happens. I mean, I don't know what that something is or if there will ever be a something, but guys are going to go and it's going to create these problems. I guess it's not really a problem, I guess, as long as the PGA keeps stacking up new talent, which I think they will. And I don't think it's going to be a problem, but losing more superstars, man, it really, really hurts. And they really got to figure out something to do to get all these guys on the same golf course at the same time at some point in time.
Yeah. Goes back to our conversation a couple weeks ago. I think it was just about this. That's what we said. So I'm not going to spend money on making this better for anybody. Like, we're going to gamble on it either way. Other people aren't. They don't care. They already are dead to football and they know it. So why put even more into just make it a little less dead if the field's not there and all? No one's going to care about these other names behind are never, to me, going to be the needle movers. Like what do we got down here? Denny McCarthy, Joel Damon. We know him very well. He's great. That's fine. But I'm saying him, Matthew Neesmith, Noren, Putnam, all great guys for us to play in DFS and gamble on. Never going to be the mainstay or the big names at the top. Of course, like you said, you got some of them here, but that's the difference maker. So it's just going to continue with that, I think. And that's the other thing people have to remember is like this, what the swing season, especially next year with the new setup, it's for the people coming in that need to stick with it, need to get their card, get their profession, keep rolling and making money in golf. Another conversation about Live. That's the whole point why some are taking the bag. But the setup here is it's not meant to be the best DraftKings format ever or the best gambling experience ever. And they could go after that and it could help them. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying when you see it and why it doesn't translate to that, it's because look at this right now. I had a sweat all weekend, finished 4th in the main GPP. Do you know when I tuned in for the ending? Like the last 9 holes. I watched it here and there throughout Friday and Saturday, usually Thursdays. Always I got so much going on, but I watched it some on the weekends as a diehard fan. But even for the sweat, like with football going on, everything else, multiple TVs, it's in the background. It's in the background, man. Like it's just never going to be the number one focus for anybody this time of year. And that's just all part of it. They're here to get their cards. They're here to keep their cards, get into the FedEx Cup, all those factors. The new setup changes it even more so, Kenny. And then you talked about Liv pulling names and things like that. That's where it does matter some. The field is going to stay this or worse based on what you're saying.
Yeah, I just don't want more top level guys to go. Right. I mean, okay, I'm not going to make them talk shit about them for taking the money. Take the money, okay? Whatever, that's cool. I just don't want any more to go because, man, it really waters down these
and mostly
fields.
These are all rumors too. Like still,
yeah.
You know, I got into it in the beginning, trying to figure it out back and forth and just having fun with it. You know, so you look at the information as diehard golf fans, you're taking it all in. It matters. We've said it from the start. We can't control what's happening. It's going to continue to happen. They're going to keep pulling these guys, but we don't know if Hatton, X, Cantlay, all that is still just rumors, but they are pretty confident that they're bringing in at least 7+ big names. And so I don't know who else would be the big names because the other guys I said aren't big names. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Those 3 would be very big names, in my opinion, as are the ones that they've already pulled, like Cam Smith. So we'll have to wait and see, but topic for another day. The rest of this event, solid. One thing I will say when we get into the tiers, power, it continues. The guy that wins and then gets his price dripped down to way less comes back and has a strong week. It's another example of that. It's been both times in this swing season where that's happened. So keep that in mind for moving forward. This week, we've got Henley's price goes up. That usually is a fade. So anyway, look at it from how you want to look at it. I think that was interesting. The guys I had were like Henley. We don't have a list in the league, so might as well talk about it. But Henley, Harmon, Joel Damon, Scheffler, Lipsky, and I forget Spawn. So I had 4 in the top 4 with 2 outside, just missed, but ended up needing Sig, even though he was down the board. He outscored Spawn by having 2 eagles to Spawn 0. So
well, I think also Sig, what it came down to, didn't he like 66, 65, 67, and like 74 on Sunday or something? So he was getting a ton of birdies.
Yeah, that would have hurt me even more if he got the all 4 under 70, but I had him in one lineup, Joel Damon in another. I came like 4th and 11th, and I needed them both together in the same lineup over Spawn in the top one, and it would have been a shipper for the week, or at least a 2-way chop for up top. So either way, good week overall. Nice to see Henley get that W. So worried with that bet on Saturday night, just knowing what he's done in the past. I mean, Saturday night, I shouldn't say as bad, felt a little bit stronger about it by then, but leading into Saturday, it was not ideal, thinking like, yes, he's in a great spot, but is he actually going to get the job done this time? And happy for him that he did, happy for my bank account that he did. So great week overall. By the way, Listener League, back for the regular season. I talked to them today. They're willing to do it, but like I said, for the last minute of it and all, it's only 2 weeks left. I said, let's just straighten it out, get it right for the regular season for everybody. Should be at least 750, if not 1,000 starting out. And then it will be based, as always, how quickly we fill it up. We fill it up by Tuesday, within 24 hours, they'll build it for the next week. So it's going to be a strong Listener League going into the new year. Going to be a great tournament for us. I'll get it as good as I possibly can for everybody.
All right, so let's get into this week. The PGA Tour heads to Houston, Texas for the Cadence Bank Houston Open from Memorial Park Golf Course. This course, a Muni, which is pretty cool, has only been in play for 2 years. This makes it a bit tougher to try and figure out what to look for in golfers, but there is some information we can look at to make it easier. The course was originally designed by John Breathimus, who also did some work in the design of Colonial Country Club. Recently, the course was redesigned by Tom Doak, and although none of Doak's courses have had a PGA Tour run, he did intern for Pete Dye. There has been some speculation, Sawgrass, other Pete Dye courses, that could be seen as correlated courses to this one this week. Since Doak has spoken about how much influence Dye has had in his career. Others have spoken about Riviera, Augusta, TPC Scottsdale. Personally, I think if you want to look at some correlated courses, the Texas courses would be good. Colonial, Valero, and the Golf Club of Houston, where this tournament was held previously. And maybe even PGA National, where they play the Honda Classic, another tough course with Bermuda greens, where, single digit, low double digit wins the event under par. Another aspect this week is the Korean connection, as the majority of Korean golfers on tour live in the Houston area. I'm not really sure how many of them have played the course since the redesign, but they could have a little bit of an advantage sleeping in their own bed. 2 years ago, the course played tough, with the winning score only being -13 and the median score only being -1. Ortiz took it down. Last year, Kokrak won at -10 with the median score as +1. So not a cakewalk. This is going to be a tough course. A lot of the top golfers in the field were near the top of the leaderboard the last couple of years. Decky, DJ, Koepka 2 years ago. Last year, Scheffler, Burns, Cam Smith, Sungjae. So it's only 2 years, so it doesn't really give the whole story. But the greens were firm and severely sloped. Hitting fairways and short game was important, and there was also a lot of long iron shots. Texas, of course, known for the wind, and if that picks up, expect another difficult test. As of now, we're looking at 20+ mile per hour winds all 4 days, with frigid temperatures for Texas on the weekend. I'm seeing like 58-degree high, 61-degree high in Houston. That's pretty fucking cold. There could be a bit of carnage this week with the wind and the cold temperatures and the difficulty of the course. And also wave stacking could become an option this week. So make sure you check the weather, make your lineups as late as possible. Okay. Now, Memorial Park Golf Course, 7,450 yard, par 72, 3 par 5s, 5 par 3s. 2 of the par 5s should be reachable by golfers in 2. The par 5 8th hole is a mammoth 630 yards and should play as a 3-shot hole for most. 3 of the par 3s range from 200 to 235 yards, and the last 2 are much shorter, ranging from 155 to 167. Now, when it comes to par 4s, 2 play fairly short with yardages right at or just below 400 yards, with 1 on the back 9 being drivable. 3 par 4s range from 440 to 455 yards, and 3 are very long, ranging from 490 to 505 yards. Now, looking at this configuration, I think we see a fair amount of shots from over 200 yards every round. I would guess at least 6 every round. Now, off the tee, golfers will see tree-lined fairways that have been widened a bit by Tom Doak. The trees aren't too bunched like they are at Colonial, and golfers will have outs most of the time when they miss wildly into the trees. Also, there is a bit of room between the edge of the fairway and the start of the trees, though if the golfers miss the fairway, the rough could be a bit penal. The one thing you won't see much of is bunkers. Only around 19 to 20 bunkers on the course, only 2 water hazards that are in play on 4 holes. The rough around the fairways is Bermuda and should be around 2.5 to 3 inches tall. Even though it's not like crazy tall, it is Bermuda. Flyer lies, pretty normal. That's what you're going to see. Judging distances in that rough will be tough, and it'll be tough to hold these firm greens. Let me move on. I just lost my place here. Now on approaches, golfers will see above average size Bermuda grass greens. The greens may be slightly large when it comes to square footage, but many are crowned on the edges, and depending on pin locations, the landing areas to have a good birdie chance are pretty small. If golfers miss the greens, they have to deal with many shortly mown runoff areas to what we see at Augusta, similar to what we see at Augusta. The greens should be firm and fast and severely sloped. So what are we looking for in golfers this week? With the limited information we have, it's sort of tough to answer, but from what I've gathered, I think you should look for solid numbers off the tee, with maybe a little bit of emphasis on length, since it looks like driver will be used on almost half the holes. I also think long irons will be key, with around 6 shots around from over 200 yards. If we see a spike in the wind forecast, which is what we're seeing right now on Monday evening, we might need to look at golfers with strong short games. Finding good Bermuda putters also will be helpful. Tambo, what are you looking for this week?
A lot of things you said, actually, but the big ones that stood out to me was the weather. Keep an eye on that. That's always the thing, right? Anytime we're out here, you can check that out. Wave stacking never hurts. Even if you don't see anything in particular, it's more of if it ends up going that way, it can change on a dime, and then you set yourself up for success based on that. So I think that one is a good call. And then the other thing was, just the safety versus the, play the history, and the safety versus the upside is what I was going to say. We'll get to it. I'll give a real life example when we get down to that 9K range related to last week, take into this week. But I'm definitely willing to move off the chalk a lot more in these situations where you've got a week like this where weather, carnage, all these things are possible. Sometimes plays tougher, like you said, last couple of years. So just anything like that where I can look for it. And then also, last point, you brought this up, and I thought it was a good one earlier, was the drop-off. Like the names, Scotty, Burns, Finau, Matsuyama, Henley's last week winner, Fine, Wise, Taylor. We'll get to those guys. After that, it does kind of drop off quite a bit. So that's another thing just to keep in mind when you're looking at your roster construction, Kenny. But we could probably hop right in. I will be focusing, like I said, on weather, ownership, keeping the stats in mind and stuff as we go throughout, but not the craziest history or anything that I'm going to focus on too much there. I'm just going to focus on, it's the second last week of the swing season. Build some lineups that others don't have and find your way to the top with good plays that others aren't on.
Yeah, when we're looking at these tiers, we start off in the 10K range, of course. We're going to go Henley all the way up to Scheffler. Speaking about lineup construction, I think in cash, I think you got to play two guys from Montgomery up. I think that's how I'm going to go about my cash lineup this week because of that drop off after Montgomery. That you see. So I think, if you don't agree with my two cash game cornerstones that are in this range, I would still try and pick two guys here of 9,700 and above, all the way up to Scheffler is the way I would do it. And I'm going to go ahead and start. My first cash game cornerstone is going to be Sam Burns. I think Scheffler makes a fine cash play, but DraftKings, their pricing has gone back to sort of normal. I guess. I mean, you've seen it where they didn't have 11K golfers where, Scheffler and some other guys were like 10-9, 10-7. They were very, very easy to get two of them. Now with Scheffler at 11-5, I tried him and Montgomery. I still didn't like the way my lineups made out for the rest of the way. So I'm going to go Burns to start. Save the 800, couple of top 10s here at this event. I think he finished 7th both times. And I think his last finish on tour was 7th. So he's riding the lucky number 7s out here. And so I really like Burns. Approach game great. Tee to green's fine. Lots of birdies. Puts out of his ass. So I like Burns. I'm going to go with him as my first cash game cornerstone this week. But I really like Scheffler and I really like Finau. I think Finau, this is the week he got that ring rust off. He still had 10 birdies 9 birdies and an eagle last week, even though he missed the cut by, I think, just one, if I'm not mistaken, maybe two. And so, he knocked that rust off. He was still getting a lot of birdies, lots of bogeys, couple of doubles cost him. I'm gonna put that into rust there for Tony, and I'm going to be playing a lot of Tony. He comes up number 1 in my model. So I'm going to be playing a lot of Tony. I'm going to be playing a lot of Scotty. Those are going to be my two guys I start the majority of my lineups with this week. Tambo, what about you?
Yeah, good point there. I don't think we'll get away from people still going back to Finau, even though he was lower owned, he did not come through last week and ended up having the rust that you talked about, right? If you go back to it there, miscut here, he's miscut 24th. Usually that would be like, okay, people would be off him. You got a guy right there like Sam
People are
Burns.
So much sharper now.
They just don't care. They just go right back to it again. But, you look at Burns, 7th and 7th, like you said here, 7th last week. But this is one example I can just bring up right quick. Again, you can still pick your spot. I still prefer Finau, to be honest, because Burns is safe. 7th, 7th, 7th. Like, that's lucky.
Cash.
7th, 7th. Good.
Cash with upside.
But here's the thing. So Finau miscut 24th. Who cares here? But miscut to his 7th place, the last 2 events they played. The 30th is not that crazy that Burns had 6 weeks ago, but then you go back to what they were doing previous to this. And this is where I just look at it and it's, crazy. Finau, 9th, 5th, and 28th. Burns, very consistent, 24th, 19th, 20th. I'd rather the guy that may have those 20th or missed cuts, but gets me those top 10s there. Not saying he can. He's coming off 2 top 7s here and 1 7th just last week or 2 weeks ago for Burns, but just my point on this example. So Scheffler, crazy not to play him here. I think he's the class of the field, perfect spot. The Sunday he had was incredible. Don't care his ownership. I'll be way overweight. Finau, I like, good for tournaments and whatnot. I don't know. I don't like Decky as much. I don't like Henley.
Here, let's talk about Henley, because his win, it's his 4th win or his 3rd win. He's had a couple, but it's been about 5 years since his last win. Now, you know, he's been close. His ball striking is elite. Now, we've seen this happen with Webb, winning at Players and then going on a run after not having a win in a long time and then going on a nice little run. We've seen it with English, another guy who didn't have a win for a while, came in and just started banging out 3 wins in a year. Brendan Todd did it, you know, in the fall swing just a few years ago with back-to-back events, winning. I mean, and if you look at his history, I think he's finished like 2nd and 20th or something here. Henley, really, really good at course history at this course. And he seems to really love the city of Houston, since he has a shit ton of top 25s in this event throughout his whole entire career. Do you think his ownership's going to be down? Because if it is, I think I'm going to play him.
Don't know. It'll be down for me. Like I said, I don't know what people will do with a guy like him. Usually off a win, people don't play him. I think it's crazy to play him. You got Scheffler, Burns, Finau, literally just hundreds of dollars more, not thousands, hundreds. Like Scheffler, sure, thousands, 1,500, but honestly, find that $1,500. There's so many spots in your lineups to find it. I'm taking Scheffler over Henley all day, and all those guys.
I'm tempted to play Henley. I'm tempted to play Henley. We'll see how it goes. I'll look at the ownership, because I mean, I bet him too. I bet him too, because I mean, you get this monkey off your back. You know you're a great player. You know you're striking the ball out your ass for the last 2.5 years, 3 years. He just couldn't close. Now he finally gets to close. It gives him that confidence. The talent and is there. 25-1 seemed good to me. Maybe
I bet Finau at the same number, but yeah, I understand it. I just, like I said, I think people just misinterpret this. So like in the pricing, it's so bad. Like Scotty Scheffler should be 13,500. They're just not going to do it. So when you have that, you have to take that to your advantage and just play the guys that are in that spot that, you know, I don't know. To me, I can find the money. There's actually guys below him too that I like. We're going to go there in a second anyway, but I like the 3 guys at the top. Prefer Scheffler, then Finau, then Burns.
Yeah, and we'll go to my second cash game cornerstone. It's going to be Aaron Wise. Again, another guy who has upside. You know, I don't know about if he can win. He's only won once, but the guy's perennial, can get top 10, top 5 pretty easy, I think, at this event. Again, he comes up pretty strong in almost all the numbers that I'm looking for. Then I really, really like his long iron play. From 175 up, he's very, very strong. And you're going to see a lot of shots from that range. So Wise is going to be my second cash game cornerstone. Once again, like I said, I think you need 2 guys up here. If you don't want to go Burns and Wise, go somewhere else. Go Scheffler and Montgomery or something like that. But you're still going to, that's going to cost you a little bit more, about $700, $800 more. And I really like the middle 7K range. Like there's a lot of guys that I really, really like in that range that I want to put in my cash lineup. So I sort of had to go down a little bit, and I went with Wise as my cash game corner. So let's talk about Taylor Montgomery here. We had a good conversation before the pod started about him. Has anyone done what he's doing right now? I mean, if you look at his form, okay, 10th, 13th. This is including Corn Ferry. 10th, 13th, 15th, 9th, 3rd, 9th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1 miscut, 70, he came in 72nd, and then 8th, 2nd, 4th, 13th, 4th. The crazy thing about this is he's probably a below average ball striker. He relies strictly on his putter. I think he's played 6 or 7 PGA Tour events with strokes gained stats. And the lowest strokes gained putting he's ever had is 4.8. Now, normally when we talk about golfers like this, we say that it can't last. But I was chatting with the data golf guys, and they showed me they sent me a YouTube video. I guess Taylor was in some type of like high stakes money putting contest, which he won $100,000 in a putting contest. This is a couple of years ago. What do you make of them? Because I mean, when you normally as a DFS player, when you see someone like this where they rely all on putting, you're like fade. It's got to come back to the mean. But what is his mean? Is his mean the lowest he's ever gotten strokes gained is plus 4.8 strokes gained putting in an event. What do you make of Taylor Montgomery?
I think that gets overblown a little bit because yes, that's the facts, but it's also been so consistent. We do it all the time. And yes, putting is way higher variance than the approach, where we talk about a guy like Colin Morikawa. If he just finds a putter, he boat races the field. Sure. It's not as likely someone finds some irons and boat races the field while keeping up the putter, but the putter.
Yeah. But this guy cannot even play well with his irons and his
but that's where I'm saying
driver.
What I was saying gets overblown is people aren't looking at the other numbers. His tee to green is great. His off the tee is great. His around the green is solid.
Long.
It's more than enough to bring a complete game to get what he's doing. Don't remember, you didn't rattle off 10 wins there. You rattled off 10th, 13th, 15th, 9th, 3rd. Like, you know what I mean?
All top 15, like 14 top 15s in like his last 15 events.
I'm not discounting it. I'm saying but we're not rattling off all wins here. He has the stats to get himself in the top 20, and then a great putter, a top 30, and then the great putter can launch him into the third.
I look at it right now in my model, and it goes only 50 rounds, and he only has 30 that count. He's 122nd out of like 145 people with like enough stats to be on the model.
Yeah. The other thing about that too, we talk about this all the time. I think it was Andy Lack had one of the guys on the pod talk about it as well. I've heard other pods bring guys on too and talk about these stats and stuff, how it's like actually way closer than you think. Like the difference between 50th and 124. Yeah. So when people rattle off this number, like the guy beside him is 9th, he's 122nd. It literally can be feet over a certain amount of time. Like it's not as much as what you actually think. And then, like I said, he brings off the tee. He's solid around the green. And it's just the putter. When you have that, that's what launches you from 30th and 40th place. He's making cuts. If you can putt that good, you make cuts. It's why is he always finishing in the top 15 is because he has that putter. Now, if he loses the putter, I don't think he's going to fall off the face of the earth, but it bears to mention.
He'll fall off the face of the earth.
$9,700. He's not going to fall off the face of the earth because he's not going to lose the putter. He's not going to gain. That's my whole point. This is what happens all the time in Showdown. Guy gains 6 strokes with the putter and they fade him the next day. Sure, I understand it. I do in some cases as well. But if he had the rest of his game with him that day and he doesn't gain 6 strokes tomorrow and he just gains 2, he still crushes. But now people are starting to go away from that because they just think, oh, he can't do 6 again. He doesn't need to do 6 again. That's with Taylor Montgomery. What if he's better off the tee? What if he's better around the green? What if those irons do show up and then he only gains 1.5 or 2? He's another top 10 that week. Now, if everything shows up, he's going to win. And some really sharp people will say about Taylor Montgomery that he's the dude. Like, just wait and see when he puts it all together. And he's a guy that can close can play with the lead, be up there with the mix, at least in front of the top 10 or top 15 in a tournament. He never falls apart and disappears. So when he actually does put it all together and grab a W, which I think he will this season, he could grab more. Right. That's what people are comparing it to, like maybe not like a Scheffler, but other guys like that when they a Homa style, rattle one off, and then maybe you could start rattling a few off. And next thing you know, they're in the mix. And I do think that's true about him. He does have the ability to do just that. Like I said, I don't think the putter ever completely falls off when you're that good at something. And that's why we still see guys like Denny McCarthy kick it around. I just think he's got a way better all around game than that versus some just rely on putter only.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's pretty incredible what he's doing. Because I mean, like he's not accurate off the tee though. He's long. That's why his strokes gain off the tee is solid. That's where the numbers are coming from, his length. But he's not very accurate off the tee. He's definitely not accurate with his irons. You're right. The short game is his thing, and if he can keep going, I mean, it's pretty incredible what he's done. We'll see how long it lasts.
Like Sanderson Farms, same thing you're saying, but solid overall, almost 2 off the tee, 2 on approach, That was the one week he actually lost it around the green. Still lost 2 around the green, still gained 5 on the putt with the putter, finished 9th. And the other crazy part is, like I said, just doesn't matter. It's easier fields, sure, but the last 5 aren't Korn Ferry Tour. They're all PGA Tour. Last week, the CJ Cup, the Shriners, the Sanderson, the Fortinet. Before that, you go back to this previous PGA event. Well, he missed the cut at the US Open, but 11th at the Farmers. Like, he's shown up with the best in the world that are in the field that he's in. He can't do much more than what he's been doing. So will the putter keep up forever? No. But will he lose it and drop off the face of the earth with it? I definitely don't think so.
All right. So personally, for the 9K range, I'm fading everybody except Wise and Montgomery, because I'm playing a lot of those top 7 guys. So I will be fading the entire 9K range, outside of the top 2 top guys and the bottom guy, Joel Damon, who I spoke of earlier, who's been playing really, really good golf. But those are the only ones that I'm going to stick with in the 9K range. I'll be fading everybody else. What about you, Tambo?
Yeah, McNeely and Thigala interest me some. And the only reason I'll say this, again, I'll see what ownership does. But here's another example. So last week, funny enough, we just talked about Taylor Montgomery. Last week was Hoagie, was the safety valve. Like, oh, look what he's done lately. He's going to just make his bread and get through and do his thing. For $100 more, you could add Montgomery, who basically had been doing the same thing lately. It's just not as established, doesn't have the win.
Well, he was doing with just putter. And Hoagie's been doing with ball striking, and his DFS players were sort of ingrained to go with the ball striker instead of the putter.
Even that aside, what I heard quoted plenty of times was actually the results and not the stats. It was, look at all the good finishes for Hoagie, when all the good finishes are there for Montgomery. We just cited them all off, rattled them off both each time. So my point being here, Mav McNeely is an example. 19th and 20th here the last 2 years, 2 top 20s. Sounds good when you're saying it. Coming in off a 10th, 18th, 12th, and 10th. But now you go to Thigala, 61st here last year, didn't play it the year before that, 67th and a missed cut, but in his recent, a 5th and a 6th popped in there. To me, it's not quite the same, but would it surprise you any if Thigala got his first win here? No, not me at least. Would it surprise you any if he destroyed McNeely this week with lower ownership? No, not really. So that's an example where I'm saying I don't really care what the rest of the stuff says, the numbers that people are looking at there. Now, if you go to stats, he actually looks pretty good. His stats actually show up on Fantasy National better than McNeely's. But I think what happens in the swing season, besides just the models, people look a lot at this and say, hey, McNeely, 2 top 20s, coming in off 4 straight top 18s, including 2 top 10s. Safe. Let me throw him in my lineup. How does that go wrong? And you have guys with more risk, but maybe more upside here too. So I like Thigala there for that reason. I'm with you on Wise at the top. He looks like sort of the class of this range. That will come with ownership though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Burns and Wise are going to be incredibly popular. But like I said, when it comes to cash, I don't really care. I don't really care about ownership. Now let's move to this 8K range. Tambo, why don't you get us started?
Yeah. General interest, just based on what you said, like skipping this a lot for the other builds, like building with 2 guys up top, but a lot of guys pop. I will say one thing about this week versus last week. The pricing seems to match the skill levels a lot better than last week. We sort of had some missed prices that we talked about on the pod and ended up having a good week because of it, because for some reason the ownership didn't follow what I thought were the missed prices. But here, Neesmith, again, you're taking risks, but Neesmith, Siwoo, Noren, all pop. Pendrith, Keith Mitchell, those guys sort of pop. Riley playing a lot better. So I'm going to mix and match. These are all guys at unique prices. The guys I would probably like the most, Taylor Pendrith, stick with him. I think he's just another talented individual that's for, I don't know, 12, what is he, $1,000 less than Taylor Montgomery? 1,200 less. I play him as a similar dude. Like he's still capable. He's got all the stats across the board. He's solid all around. I'm going to stick with him, not just because he's Canadian, but I do like his game. Davis Riley, not going away from him, sticking with him in the swing season. So I like him. And then Keith Mitchell down at the bottom at 8,100. I just think, again, when you look at the stats, they're mediocre, but we could see a little bit more upside here. I just will take the risk on him for $8,100. That's all really though for me in here, Kenny, just taking some shots.
I like you like this range a lot. There's a lot of golfers I like. If I had to just pick 2, I really like Davis Riley this week. I like you said, he's been playing better. His long irons are one of his strengths. And on this course, you're going to need solid long iron play. So I do like Riley a lot. I like Siwoo a lot. If it gets windy and that short game is needed, he's the best in this field in the last 50 rounds. Played well at the President's Cup. Played well after that as well in a couple of tournaments where we had that one Korea Bonanza tournament we had right after the President's Cup. I can't remember what tournament it was, but where like 5 Koreans finished in the top 12 or some shit like that. And he was one of them. So yeah, those are 2 that I like a lot. I really like Munoz as well. A Texas guy, can play in the wind. It will be used to this. I like a lot of these guys in this 8K range. But those will be my top 3. But I'll be playing more. Let's move on to the 7K range. I'm going to go. I'm always back. I can't get off Harris English. I just think at some point in time, his game is going to click. It is going to happen. He's going to get back to where he was a year and a half ago and get a W. So I like English. I'm always going to play Patrick Rogers. That's just what's going to happen. But my third cash game cornerstone, if you're going to go with a PGA National type of course correlation, tough course player, a guy who does well in that type of situation, is going to be Mackenzie Hughes at $7,700. He's going to be my third cash game cornerstone. When it comes to stats, I mean, I'm not even looking at it for him. I just know that he plays well in tough courses. He's had good form with a win a few weeks ago, backing that up with a top 25 the week after. He's playing exceptional golf. The price tag actually seems a little bit cheap for me. And if I remember correctly, I think he finished 7th here last year. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he had a decent finish at this event as well. So he is my third cash game cornerstone this week. My favorite play in this upper 7K range is going to be Alex Smalley. Again, really, really good from over 200 plus yards. He's had a decent finish here in the past. His iron game has been clicking upwards. I really, really like Smalley this week. He could be the 5th guy in my cash lineup. Tambo, who do you like up top?
Yeah, one thing I will say quick, that was the Shriners you were referencing with the Korean Bonanza, like you talked about with SH Kim, Siwoo Kim, Sungjae Im, Tom Kim, all up top in the top 8 with Tom Kim getting the W. But that 8K range, as much as I like it, Kenny, like I said, that's the issue, is I don't know how much of it I can play because of the lineup construction with going up top. And I was with you on some of these guys you just mentioned here. I don't see a lot of difference between that mid-tier to low 8K range and some of these guys right here in this upper 7K range. Again, just a litany of options. You have so many guys you can go to here. Patrick Rogers, who you mentioned, Wyndham Clark, a little bit longer off the tee. Love the Hughes call. People may forget he just won 2 events ago, came 23rd after he won, and has a 29th and a 7th here. Again, like you said, don't care about the stats. We'll see how it shakes out with waves and all those things, but he could fit in. Will Gordon, really good week last week. Smalley, love him, and Hodges right there.
I like Hodges a lot too.
So this is where I was saying, again, and everyone's like, oh, you're naming everybody. I get it. But what I was saying in the 8K range, I said the guys I like. I don't know how many I'll get to because I can just come down here and play all these guys and leave those 8K guys out if I want. So that's where my thoughts are right now. Dean Burmeister, another guy, I bet him, we'll talk about him, but he's a good guy in here at 7,600 that you could go to as well. So a lot of options in the 7K range, and I will have a lot more exposure to the lower 7K range as well, because the 6K range is not that good this week. So these are the decisions, sort of 6,700 and up, 6,800 and up really is where I'm looking to stay, Kenny. So I don't know what you got. Anybody else in here? If not, go to the bottom of the 7K range.
Yeah, I really like I like Hodges as well, like you talked about. He could be in my cash lineup too. So going down, Giuseppe Straka on Bermuda. We'll go ahead and take him. Grayson Sig had 1 bad round last week, but he was like 65, 66, 67, and then like a 74 on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's a decent price. Good price for him. I'm going to play him. I think my favorite play is Davis Thompson, coming off a 12th place finish about three weeks ago. I don't know how popular he's going to get. It could make for a really strong GPP play, but top tier in approach, tee to green, really good off the tee, really good with his long irons once again. And I'm really targeting guys who are strong with their longer irons. I really like Davis Thompson. I bet him at 100-1 this week. So he's one of my favorites down here. I know a lot of people like Cameron Champ last week. I think this is the week that you play Cameron Champ because, again, he has that length. And, again, long iron, strong once again. I think he's he's second from 200 plus and 20th from 175 to 200 in this field. So I think a low ownership, sub 5, sub 6% Cameron Champ is a nice look down here. And I'm finally going back to S.H. Kim. Another sort of non-birdie fest where a short game is going to come in, which is his biggest strength. This is the week I've been off of him for the last 3 weeks, which has been good because he's been playing like ass. But I'm back on him this week, and I really do like a little bit of S.H. Kim. Who do you like in his bottom 7K range?
Do you think S.H. Kim lives in Texas?
That would be. I have heard that he lives in Houston. Yes.
There's another piece of information, right? You can.
I have heard that he lives in. He's currently living in the Houston area. I think I got that from Martin's article this morning. Go check out Sundog Monkey's article for this week.
Yeah, you always say it though, right? Koreans in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So save it up.
Well, it's because KJ Choi,
right,
his home is in Houston, Texas, and every young Korean golfer, they respect the hell out of KJ. They want to be around him, and he gives them pointers on how to adjust to the American lifestyle. Because a lot of these guys are kids who are coming over who've never left Korea ever in their lives. Really, maybe to play an event for 4 days somewhere in Asia, but that's it. But now these guys are here and they're moving into the United States, and KJ is sort of like the Korean Rock. To hold all these guys together, and they all want to be around him, at least when they first start off on tour. So Houston's basically a hotbed for a lot of Korean golfers.
Yeah, I like that call quite a bit, actually. So I'm with you there. I liked Sig, who you mentioned. The Eagles really helped him last week. You talked about those three out of 4 good rounds, but even still, he's a good play here. Luke List, Brendan Steele. He's a guy that popped for me in the stats too, just overall across the board. And I mean, he's got one good finish lately. To me, just someone that you want to pick him up early. So I like him at 7,200. I like Laird, played really well last week. He can get around a course like this just fine. Lipsky came through for me last week. I'll always play Steven Yeager and Woodland. So
Yep. Those are the two that I missed that I was going to talk about. I like Yeager. I like his length. I think it'll be good for this type of course. And Woodland in the wind, he's a pretty damn good wind player. Gary Woodland is that low piercing ball flight. I mean, it could work out for him. At 7K, I'm definitely going to take a risk on Gary. I think I bet him too at 130.
Yeah, I did too. So we'll get to that. But Steven Yeager is a guy that always stands up for me. So I like him. Woodland, 7K, nothing really crazy there. You can take a shot like Hostler if you want. Hostler in Houston. Remember, it was the Houston Open against the playoff against Ian Poulter back in the day. Different, but same. Go back to him if you want. And 7,000, you can play him there. But not too much else that I like down here, Kenny. It's like I say, I'll play a little bit of these guys when we get to the next range, but not too many in the 6Ks altogether.
Yeah, I mean, when we get to the 6K range, there's 3 guys up top that really are strong wing players. I mean, probably top 10 in windy conditions, strokes gained total in the last 50 rounds of windy conditions. You look at Ryan Palmer, Chesson Hadley, and Benny On. Really, really strong in windy conditions. So I like those guys a lot. I'll play them up top. John Ha is another guy that plays well in the wind, had a decent showing last week. Tyler Duncan is a guy that I really like down here at $6,500. Not a cash play, but I have another cash play at this price. But he's so good with his long irons. I think he's the best in the field from 175 up, one of the top 3 in the field from 175 yards and above. I think he's 8-6 in the last 50 rounds from 200 plus, ninth from 175 to 200 in the last 50 rounds. No one's going to play him. You're going to get him at 1 to 2%. You throw 5-6% at him, you'll be 3 times the field average on Tyler Duncan. I really like him. And then my final cash game cornerstone for the week is going to be Robert Streb, who's actually 6th in strokes gained total in windy conditions, made back-to-back cuts, and has had us and finished 7th here last year. He's going to be my punt play. So my cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be Samuel Burns at $10,700, Aaron Wise at $9,900, Mac Hughes at $7,700, and Robert Streb at $6,500. Leaves you more than 15K, even though you have a 9-9 golfer and a 10-7 golfer in this lineup. So plenty of room to do whatever you want with those last 2 guys. Now, if we're going to go even more into the 6K range, the final couple of guys that I'll be looking at, what's his name? Where is he at? Nicholas Echeverria, finished, had a really good, strong. He was unbelievable on the Latin American tour for about 3 years, made it to the Corn Ferry Tour, got his card, looks good, 23rd last time out, someone you could just throw out there with talent at a cheap price, maybe throw 5% at him. You know, he's only going to be 1-2% owned. So it's someone to look at. Tambo, what about you?
Yeah, not as many, but I like a couple calls you brought up that I liked along the way. Ryan Palmer, I thought that was a good one. The windy you talked about earlier with the, the Honda as well. If you wanted to bring that in, he's played well there too. I know he goes in the water the most.
Well, and another good thing is, like, he's really good putting from off the green. And this course has that all the runoff areas where, you can putt up these crowns, and that he's actually really good at that. I mean, so it's something to look at.
I like that. I had another Ryan down there, Ryan Armour, played good golf last week. Talk about 3-putt avoidance, bogey avoidance. It's a made cut, 6,600. And then if you got a guy to grind out the weekend, sometimes he does find those irons, and you see him in that final few groups and making a run at it or something like that. So I don't hate him. I like the Duncan call, but I had Bramlett circled there. I always play a little Joseph Bramlett. The stats are not the best across the board, but I think, again, when you talk about just fairways, greens, you could find him. And then one guy that I really like down here, Kenny, Dylan Fratelli, University of Texas guy coming in, in Houston. I think it could be pretty good here.
How much is he?
6,800.
No, I can get down with that.
19th here last year, 29th, 13th, and 59th, 3 of his last 4. And then I was looking at it again. The stats are just okay across the board, but they're nothing that throws me off. Like, oh, he's horrible at this, or I don't want him. So I'm going to play him at 6,800 as well.
All right. Anyone else?
Nope.
All right. Let's get the bets. I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to go with, I'm thinking this is one of the weeks where I'm going to bet Russell Henley at 25-1 and maybe not play him. You might have talked me out of it. We'll see. But I think he can win again, especially at this course. Where he's had success in the past. He loves this area. He plays this tournament basically every year possible, and is just, knocking out top 25, top 15s, even at the old course over at the Golf Club of Houston. Maybe it's something about Houston that he enjoys. I did not know. Similar types of greens that they had between the two courses. So that could be a reason for why he likes these courses so much. His confidence has to be sky high. I'm not worried about him going out and getting hammered and celebrating the win like that. This is the guy's 3rd win. It's not like his first, and it's not like he's 23 years old. He's in his 30s. So I'm not worried about that aspect of Henley. So I'm going to go Henley 25-1, Davis Riley 50-1, Smalley 65-1, Mackenzie Hughes 65-1, Davis Thompson 100-1, Gary Woodland 100-1. I didn't get 130, I got 100, and then Brendan Steele 100-1.
Wow, we're very aligned this week, my friend. We don't talk bets before the show, so I went with Finau over Henley at 25. So that, to me, I sent it out to the Run Pure Sports Discord this morning. That number, I guess it was 16 at some place, so not everybody could get it, but he was like, I think it was like Denny McCarthy was right there with them and stuff. Like, it was just disrespectful the way the number was. Wise was 18-1 on my book, and Finau's 25. One guy wins, one guy doesn't. To me, at least lately,
well,
obviously,
one guy,
he doesn't win. He got to win.
Now.
He got to win in Texas, by the way, at another shitty course, but he got to win and then didn't get the kiss. So that's not a winner, my friend, when he thought he was getting the kiss and got dubbed or got snubbed. So that don't count. But Riley, 50, I'm on with you. Burmeister, I got at 75. I think I'm going to add him as a first round leader too. I'm just feeling him this week.
First round leader bets Jason Day. If you're going to go first round leader, I don't know what his number is. Hopefully it's decent.
I'll just make a note of it for now.
Garbage. But I'm thinking Jason Day, first round leader. The guy, I didn't really talk about him, but because I have to fade that range. But if I'm going to put a bet on him, it'll be the first round leader. I think he's had the lowest round here at this course at least once in the 8 rounds. And he's had a couple of other rounds where he's been close. That should make me want to play him in DFS. I just can't do it quite yet, especially with the guys above him.
Yeah. And then I'm with you. I was the same. I only had 5 bets, but my last 2 were Steele at 100. And the reason I was mad at you about Woodland when you said 130 is because I got 110, but now I feel okay that you only got 100. So
I got 100 on Woodland. Yep.
All right. Well, 100 on Steele, 110 on Woodland. I got all those except for Finau. Riley, Burmeister, Steele, and Woodland at 8 places. So pretty happy with that.
All right, that sounds good. Anything else?
I think that's it, man.
You can find me on
Twitter.
Twitter.
More event next week.
One more. That's it. You can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. I feel like you're looking forward to it. You have to be like one of the busiest men like in the business. Like
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm losing my voice.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I've been doing this for like 7+ years. And so like any large break is great for me. But I mean, you're doing like 18 shows a week and winning like 47 GPPs. So you got to be busy as fuck.
I just like having the time off a little bit just to, relax. Again, we still got football full force. I'll be doing a ton of stuff, but from this golf segment of having to do golf shows plus the work plus watch it all and stay dialed in, I do like a break of just not having to watch it for like a month. That's fun to me, like just to be able to focus.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be watching because the new match.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That seems pretty sick.
That one's good. It's for a good cause. I'm not a big fan of the matches. This is obviously the best names we've ever had at it. So I'm excited. But when it's like Tom Brady and the dudes, like I just
give me real golfers. Give me real golfers in the match.
This should be fun. Yeah. And they've got good commentary too. It's going to be like JT was awesome on there. It's Spieth and Rory
and JT and
JT
Spieth.
And Tiger. Yeah, I was right. Sorry,
it's Rory and Tiger.
But yes,
JT and Spieth.
But when JT was on the last match, because I still watched again, like full degen, but I'm saying he was on there doing the commentary. He knew exactly when to interject and when to lean out. Like he was solid. So I don't know. I'm excited for this one for sure with you. That'll be the only thing though, really, that I have to take.
December 10th. What day is that? I don't understand why they didn't do it like Friday of Thanksgiving or something like that. Saturday. I guess they're smart. They did it on a Saturday, and it looks like that's probably towards the end of college football.
I'm looking forward to American Thanksgiving too, by the way. I love American Thanksgiving football all day. I don't know why it wasn't like that in Canada the whole way me growing up, but it just makes for the absolute best day. And a couple of years, we even got together with friends and did like a Friendsgiving on American Thanksgiving here in Canada and watch football, cook a turkey and do it all. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell a story about in college. When I was at Virginia Tech, we a bunch of us stayed at school for the Thanksgiving break, and we had this huge Friendsgiving. But we got like I think a quarter pound of some crucial weed. Right. And we made like 1.5 pounds of weed butter. Right. And we used that weed butter to cook the entire Thanksgiving dinner that we had. It was on the turkey. It was in the mashed potatoes. It was in the macaroni and cheese. It was in the gravy. Literally, like it was in the vegetables, the Brussels sprouts. It was literally the only thing it didn't have was probably the cranberry sauce that we got out of the can. That was a fun time if you ever get a chance to do that. Because the thing is, you eat and you think you're full, but your mind does not think you're full. We crushed so much food that week. It was so much fun.
But then the turkey has the special, what is it, the L-tryptophan or whatever it's called in it. That
it definitely makes you sleepy.
So
that was fun. Yeah. Nowadays, my mother works on Thanksgiving, and my family's, when my grandfather was alive, we'd all get together, but he passed a couple of years ago. So me and my grandmother, we go to Golden Corral. Fuck it. We go to Golden Corral, get that all you can eat turkey, roast beef, prime rib, get it done. Don't have to cook, don't have to clean. Eat at like 11:30, get home by 1 for like the second quarter of the football game and watch football the rest of the day. So that could be a plan. Yeah. All right, guys. You can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. You can find my article on gupscorner.com. Should be out later this evening. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on the membership to Gups Corner. Gup has been killing it on the betting market here in the last couple of weeks. You've been tailing him. You've been making a shit ton of money. So make sure you go check that out.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Totag and Tambo. Like I said, got a lot going on with football. Even when golf ends, I'll still be doing all the football stuff. It's just more focused. So that's going to be good. And then on top of it, you can find me at runpuresports.com. Use promo code RPSHeater25. Get yourself 25% off. You have to do the $100 monthly option for that to work. So other than that, boys and girls, we will be back next week for the final episode of the swing season. And then, by the way, we will have our same one we did last year, our preview for the season with the majors, the up-and-comers, all of our thoughts for that. It'll come out later at sort of the end of December, maybe in person. We can do a live show.
We'll see. I think from what Pat says, we're also doing the draft again this year, and Tambo's not going to miss it.
I'm not missing this one, no.
So we'll do a nice little draft towards the end of the year for this upcoming season. And hey, I didn't finish in last place last year. That goes to David Perry of the Tour Junkie. Sorry, David, to blow you up like that. But I just didn't want to come in last. So I'm happy about it. Well, the problem is half my team went to live. I had like Reed and Neiman and like some they all just went to live. So that was my biggest issue. All right. So 2 more events left in this season. I'm ready for a break. Let's win some motherfucking money, DJ Nation. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up.